Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Khoj Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our recitation for the day, Gaudi Mahalla Panjwa. Sant ki Dhur Mite Agh Kot, Sant Prasad Janam Maran Te Chhot, Sant ka Dars Puran Isnan, Sant Kripa Te Japiye Naam, Sant ka Sang Mitya Ahankar, Drishti Aave Sab Ekankar, Sant so prasann Aaye Vas Pancha, Amrit Naam Hriday Le Sancha. कहो नानक जाका पूरा कर्म तिस भेटे साधु के चरण संत की धूर मिटे अग कोट संत प्रसाद जन्म मरण ते छोट. The first verse. We've translated it to read, millions of missteps are avoided, Mite Agh Kot, by following the footsteps of the Sant ki Dhur. The insight of the Sant's teaching, Sant Prasad, frees one from the illusion of birth and death. Janam maran te chhot jana. So Sant ki Dhur, Mite Agh Kot, millions of missteps. Agh Kot. Kot is 110 million, a crore. But the idea is many. Agh. Most English renderings translate it as sin or pap, which can be a bit misleading because a sin is generally a transgression against a religious law or injunction, and therefore can vary from culture to culture. Such an idea really has no place in Sikhi, because the only transgression here is to follow the dictates of Haume, our lower self, and to turn away from the herself, which is our true nature. That is the sin. So sin in Sikhi is more in the nature of misfiring or missing the mark, if you will. Misstep is how we've translated it. So when looking for the right way, we discussed this in the previous passage, we make millions and millions of missteps. Those can be avoided, the Guru says to us, Sant ki Dhur, by following the footprints. Now, I have translated Dhur to mean footprints or the example of the Sant. And I have not translated the word Sant deliberately because we have an explanation for it. So by following the footsteps or the footprints or the example of the Sant, one avoids missteps and can actually get on the right path. We spoke about the right path, the complete path in the previous passage, and that idea sort of continues here. Dhur. Dhur actually means dust. It means the insole of the foot. So therefore, it is a metaphor for the Guru's teachings or the Guru's lifestyle or the Guru's method. Therefore, I have used the word footprint. So follow the example of the Guru, gain insight from the Guru, Sant Prasad. Prasad again is also generally translated to mean grace, but actually it also means insight. So this is graceful insight. Gain insight. And what is the insight here? Contextually, the big insight is Janam Maran Te Chhot. liberation from Janam Maran, the cycle of life and death. Now, one has to realize that within Sikhi, Janam Maran, the idea of death and birth and death and birth, is the illusion of the ego mind. And therefore, it lives in fear of that death. But when the self is realized, that illusion disappears because you see reality for what it is. So that is the message here in the first verse. Follow the footprints, follow the teachings of the Sant. The Sant comes from the Sanskrit word sat, and it's used in Gurbani to signify someone who is an exemplar of the truth, or one who has attained spiritual enlightenment, namely self-realization. So it's synonymous with Gur or Satgur. It should not be confused, however, with the word saint, which has often been used for it, because that is a Latin-rooted word and has its etymology in the idea of the sacred or holy. That is not Sant. So in the Rahau, this is emphasized. What happens when you follow the footsteps of the Sant? You get Sant ka daras. You get Sant ka daras. What is daras? Again, English translations tend to render daras as a glance or seeing the Sant. But it's much more than just the physical aspect. Etymologically, this word flows from darsan, which also stands for philosophy, thought process, knowledge, or vision. So what you get is Sant ka daras. You get the knowledge or the vision of the Guru. And that is the Puran Isnan. Sant ka daras, Puran Isnan. So as we talked in the previous passage, Isnan is bathing at a pilgrimage. But here, Puran Isnan means to immerse oneself not in a river that runs by a pilgrimage, but to immerse oneself in the immutable wisdom of the Sant. Sant ka daras is the Puran Isnan. So you get the hint here. And Sant Kripate, through the compassion of the Sant Japiye Naam, we engage with self-knowledge in the fullest sense of the word Japiye, which includes the physical act of recitation to calm the mind. It includes reflection on Gurbani. It ultimately means internalization of Gurbani, Gurbani Banana. That's what you get when you are in the presence of the Sant. And Sant ke sang mitya ahankar, drishti aave sab ek ahankar. Again, this is tied to the teaching of the Sant. Sant ke sang mitya ahankar, mitya erase. Self-pride is effaced. Actually, this is not even self-pride. Ahankar is the idea of I, the ego, which blinds us. It constricts us from seeing the world in its true perspective. And then once we efface it, then what happens? Drisht ave. You see, you realize, you perceive, sab, that everything is one. That there is an interdependency behind the diversity that we see. And again, Sant Suprasan, the Sant is pleased when I vas pancha, when the passions are controlled, because that is a prerequisite to Amrit Naam Hriday le sancha, to cultivate that self-wisdom or the wisdom of the Guru within the heart or the mind. A prerequisite is that the 5 passions, so-called Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankar, have to be controlled. You cannot inculcate self-knowledge if you're being tossed about by these passions. So that's the first. You really have to dam these passions as if you were damming a river so that you can actually use that water or use that passion for something meaningful. And in the end, the Guru says, Kaho Nanak, this is a proclamation from Nanak, one who learns from the perfect master, the sadhu. The word here used for the Sant is sadhu, which again, sadhu literally means the perfected one, siddh karna, sadhana, jinne sadh le apne aap nu. That is what is meant by sadhu. This pete sadhu ke charan. So one who learns from the perfect master, sadhu, this pete sadhu ke charan, charan again, Dhur, remember, we are talking about. These are metaphors for the Guru's teachings. So such a person is graced to complete the mission of life. Pura karam is fully graced. Karam is grace, but karam is also action. So in other words, by following the footsteps of the Guru, the example of the Guru, by inculcating the wisdom of Naam, mission completed. Until the next time, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.